And we're back with Philip Morrow, finding out all about SoBro. And before we took a break, you mentioned Yankee Stadium, and that was going to be my next question. How is the new stadium affecting that community?
Well, I'm not the best person to ask that question to, but I do think that, we supported the Yankees staying in the Bronx. We were very adamant about it, and you may have remembered the discussion that there was about during the Giuliani administration about maybe the Yankees didn't belong in the Bronx anymore, and maybe they would build a new stadium in another borough.
They were going to take them to the west side.
Yeah, they're going to take them away, and I think we were very strong in our advocacy for the Yankees to remain in the Bronx. After all, they're the Bronx Bombers, And we had, and then it was somewhat very controversial to build a new stadium in the park. They cut down trees that were 50 years old that will take forever to get replaced. And I think there was a compromise that was worked out between the elected officials and the Yankees organization to allow this to proceed. And I believe there was a very strong, force behind that was all in support, because then by that time we had Mayor Bloomberg in, who was determined that the Yankees would be remain in the Bronx and be rebuilt there. So now we're going to have a new stadium, and there was a community benefits agreement which is being implemented right now, and there will be, the old stadium I know is going to be converted to a park and to provide ball fields and other things that could be used by the neighborhood. We still have lost the park. Will the structure of the
old stadium be torn down then?
I think partially, it'll be partially removed. That's my understanding. I'm not an expert on it though. I understand
so
it'll be.
So the old stadium will become parks for the people again.
That's right. And part of it will remain. There's the exhibit and the outfield.
That's all staying there.
That's all going to remain, yeah. But I believe part of it's going to be taken down, and then the new stadium, if you drive by there now, you'll see it's substantially
yes, it is
built. I mean, it looks like it's shaping up pretty well and going pretty fast. So.
Well, it's next year they're moving in. So, but do you hear complaints from people about the parks, losing the parks, or do you hear complaints about people getting displaced from the neighborhood, prices rising, gentrification? Is there some resentment?
I don't hear complaints, but I do know that there was plenty of controversy about the park. There were demonstrations, there was opposition. I think we came down on the side of building the stadium and supported it. And I think that there are some people who are still angry that the park was taken away. I think that there has been an impact on the immediate neighborhood in terms of property values, and I don't know if there's been much
parking.
Well, parking. There was always a parking problem in the stadium, but they're building new parking facilities there to replace the ones that were torn down. There is some economic investment as a result of the new stadium, and there has been, I've seen it myself, a movement in property values increasing and things becoming more expensive all around the stadium, because I think people view the development of the Gateway Center, which is over 400,000 square foot of new retail, and the new stadium as an economic power that's going to spill over into the immediate neighborhood. There was some rezoning south of the stadium, which is going to provide for some these old industrial areas that were there to be converted to residential along the Harlem River. And there'll be a ferry there, a train stop for the Metro North, so that it'll be accessible. There'll be ferries to Midtown Manhattan from the location. So all of that's going to create economic power and influence in that immediate area. I think it's a good thing. I think we need to, this is what the Bronx needs to continue its growth and its revitalization. I think we have to always be careful about the impact on the people who cannot afford to pay higher prices and who are living there. We don't want to make sure that nobody is displaced.
New Yorkers are moving to the Bronx because they can't afford the rest of the city.
That's
if
right.
they cannot afford the Bronx, where will they go?
Yeah, where will they go? That is a good question. Where will they go? Because right now the Bronx is probably the most affordable borough, and the prices are rising everywhere. And where will they go? I mean, I've lived through this thing where people left the city.
We don't want to lose New Yorkers, that's the thing.
No, we don't.
So we have to strive to keep them.
That's right, and I think the city, Who knows? Maybe they'll start pushing people into the suburbs. I don't know. Maybe into Suffolk County. I don't know. I know that there is a concern in how this all works with this urbanization of America and how it's going to impact on people, low-income people. I think in the end, the Bronx will always be a gateway community. It'll be a place where people can arrive to New York City and find a place to live that's affordable.
And then they move on somewhere else.
Then they move on when they advance and they become, but we want to provide opportunities for people not to move on, to stay.
Yeah.
But I do believe that we are a gateway neighborhood. I think that the South Bronx will remain a gateway community. We have thousands of units of low income and public housing, which will always be available. That's never going to change.
What's the demographic there? Is that changing, the nationalities,
Not
ethnic
really.
groups?
I mean, it's Hispanic primarily, and it's we have more Mexicans moving in. We have Dominicans, Mexicans, Central Americans, and we see that in our office.
And less Puerto Ricans, though. Puerto Ricans
yes,
are the
less
ones who
Puerto
are
Ricans.
moving out.
Yes, less Puerto Ricans.
To Orlando.
We have a lot of
places.
Africans that have moved to the Bronx, and we see that in our office. We have a large population of Africans who don't speak English that we do PGSL to. So you have, at one time we had many Albanians there, you know, they were in our English classes, because there was, at one time there was a large influx of Albanians, so I think it's slowed down quite a bit now.
So you provide English courses?
Yes,
okay,
we teach English.
And in these English courses you have the United Nations sitting in the classroom.
Exactly.
From all over the world.
Exactly.
Tell me about that.
It's an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah.
I mean, but we have to teach English to people who speak all kinds of languages.
But it's harder to teach a group who speaks 10 different languages than a group that teaches speaks a second language, because you can translate. If everybody else spoke Spanish, you can translate from English to Spanish. But if everybody else spoke French, Italian, you know, it's harder to teach. I've seen it. I've been in those classrooms.
It is harder. It is harder. The teacher has to focus on English.
Right.
And
to
always
to English,
stay with English. And the other day I was there, and this young man came in. He was obviously an African, and he said, I asked him if he spoke Spanish. No. And then I said, do you speak French? I speak a little French. I speak a little Spanish. Do you speak French? Well, no, he didn't speak French. Well, I thought he would either speak English or French, but he didn't speak either. He spoke one of these African dialects, and he was sent there to take the English class. But I said, well, this is a challenge for our teacher,